make sure to like and subscribe before we get into the next story. Stellar Echoes, Wings of the Void. In the infinite star-strewn highways of the galaxy, where massive freighters carved glowing trails through the darkness, Elias Kane gripped the controls of his battered hauler, the Stellar Drift. 34 years old, with calloused hands from years of wrenching engines and a gaze softened by the solitude of space, Elias was the quintessential space trucker. He'd fled the suffocating sprawl of core-world cities after a string of dead-end jobs, seeking solace in the rhythm of deliveries, hauling fusion cells to frontier outposts, medical kits to remote farms, and rare minerals back to the hubs. His ship was a patchwork beast, thick armored hull, scarred by micrometeorites, cavernous cargo bays that echoed when empty, a cramped cockpit lined with flickering hollow screens, and a personal nook with a bunk, a coffee synthesizer that never quite got the brew right, and a viewport offering uninterrupted views of the cosmos. Life aboard was peaceful, marked by the steady thrum of sublight drives and the occasional ping of automated alerts. This run was no different, a payload of atmospheric scrubbers from the lush hydro farms of Verdalis to the dust-choked mines of Iron Spike. Elias lounged in his pilot's chair, feet up on the dash, as the autopilot guided them through a quiet sector dotted with lazy nebulae. The scanners hummed contentedly until an anomaly spiked. A biotrace signal, weak and irregular, pulsing from a rogue asteroid tumbling through the void. "Lost probe or something?" Elias grumbled, but curiosity won out. He suited up in his patched EVA rig, helmet sealed with a hiss, thrusters primed, and undocked a shuttle pod for a closer look. The asteroid was a jagged wanderer, its surface a mosaic of frozen volatiles and embedded crystals that caught the distant sunlight in prismatic flashes. Elias's boots crunched into regolith as he crested a ridge, and there, in a shallow depression, shielded by overhanging ice, huddled the source of the signal. It was unlike anything in his spacer's almanac, a creature the size of a large dog, avian in form, but engineered by evolution for the stars. Feathers rippled with iridescent sheens, shifting from midnight blue to fiery crimson as if mimicking auroras. Broad, membranous wings, folded against its sides, suggested solar sailing capabilities, and powerful, taloned legs gripped the rock with ease. Its beak was sharp, yet elegant, and its eyes, golden orbs flecked with star-like specks, held a depth of sorrow that pierced Elias straight through. "Easy now," Elias cooed through his external speakers, keeping his distance to avoid spooking it. The creature's head snapped up, and it emitted a series of low, vibrating clucks that his translator implant rendered into words. "Approach with care, traveler. I mean no threat." Elias froze, then grinned under his visor. "Talkin' bird. Now I've seen it all. Name's Elias. You got one?" "I am Zaro," the creature replied, his voice a resonant baritone, warm yet edged with grief. "Male of the void flock, wanderers of the stellar streams, but flock no more, only I remain." As Elias helped Zaro into the shuttle, careful with the wings, which spanned nearly his arm's length, the space chicken shared his harrowing origin. Zaro's kind, the male-dominated void flock, were cosmic nomads, born on a shattered gas giant's rings, their biology attuned to harnessing electromagnetic fields for propulsion. Males like Zaro led the migrations, scouting paths through radiation belts and gravitational mazes, while the collective sang vibrational hymns to maintain formation. But disaster had struck during a grand traverse near the Perseus Arm. A hyperdense plasma storm spawned from a colliding pulsar and black hole accretion disk erupted without warning. Debris fields of superheated gas and relativistic shards hammered the flock. Zaro, positioned as vanguard, had urged a evasive maneuver, but the storm's ferocity overwhelmed them. He watched in horror as brothers, seasoned navigators, young apprentices, lifelong companions were vaporized or scattered into the abyss. A lucky deflection hurled Zaro through a micro-wormhole, depositing him battered on this asteroid. "Why me?" Zaro clucked, his feathers dimming to a mournful gray. "I led them into the maw. My vigilance failed. The guilt, it devours from within." Elias, who'd nursed his own ghosts from a cargo collapse that claimed his first mate years back, felt a kinship. Survivor's curse, huh? Been there. Can't fix the past, but we can chart a new course. My rig's your ride. Hop in. Zaro, after a moment's wary tilt of his head, acquiesced. Back aboard the stellar drift, Elias cleared a corner of the cargo bay, rigging a harness perch from netting and installing a UV lamp to recharge Zaro's solar-sensitive plumage. They broke bread. Elias's synth steak for him, energy-infused pellets Elias replicated from Zaro's description. Stories flowed like the ship's coolant. Elias regaled with yarns of dodging corporate patrols and bartering exotic spices at black market ports. Zaro countered with flock epics, majestic dives through comet tails, harmonious choruses that bent starlight. Their bond solidified as pure friendship, a trucker and his avian sidekick. No undercurrents of affection, just the solid trust of road companions. Word of Zaro's uniqueness spread faster than a solar flare, courtesy of an intercepted comm-burst from the asteroid. Dr. Valeria Voss, the galaxy's most infamous mad scientist, latched onto it like a tractor beam. In her mid-40s, Voss was a specter of intellect twisted by ambition, skeletal frame draped in a tattered lab smock, wild tangles of white-streaked hair framing a face etched with manic intensity, and eyes gleaming with the fervor of one who'd long abandoned ethics. Banished from the United Research Enclave for vivisecting sentient probes and grafting neural webs onto unwilling subjects, she prowled the fringes in the Vortex Spire, a needle-thin corvette bristling with experimental weaponry, drone bays, and a biovault of writhing specimens. Voss's delusion, to forge apex hybrids, beings that transcended mortality by assimilating superior traits. Zaro's profile lit her screens, radiation-hardened cells, adaptive metamaterials in his feathers, psionic resonance for flock coordination. Perfection incarnate, she cackled to her holographic aides. Dissect the avian, harvest its essence, and I shall birth an army of immortals. The trucker, collateral inefficiency. Voss's hunt began insidious. Shadow algorithms infiltrated the stellar drift's transponder, relaying position data. Her first incursion hit at a layover on the trade hub of Orbit 9, a spinning wheel station teeming with merchants and smugglers. Elias docked for maintenance, Zaro concealed in a false panel to evade scans. While Elias haggled for spare parts in the underdeck markets, neon-lit stalls hawking bootleg mods, a Voss operative struck. A cloaked figure in a hooded vac suit lunged from the shadows, syringe gun aimed at Elias's neck. "The bird now," the assailant hissed. Elias spun, elbowing the attacker into a conduit pipe with a clang. Alarms wailed as more goons emerged, 4 in total, armed with shock prods and net launchers. Elias fought dirty. He yanked a welding torch from his belt, igniting a burst of plasma that singed one's visor, then flipped a cargo pallet to block a net. Dodging a prod's arc, he headbutted another, tasting blood from a split brow. "Zaro, hit the overrides," he barked into his wristcom. Zaro, monitoring from the ship, pulsed a EMP burst through the docking clamps, frying the assailant's gear and buying Elias time. The trucker sprinted back, blasting the airlock with a stolen stun grenade. The stellar drift undocked amid a hail of station security fire. Voss's plants had jammed the alerts. Pursuit ignited in the station's exclusion zone. Voss's scout drones swarmed like angry hornets, their lasers scoring the hauler's flanks. Elias gunned the engines, the ship groaning as he slalomed through orbital debris. "Hang tight," he yelled, deploying chaff pods that bloomed into sensor-blinding clouds. Zaro amplified, his wings vibrating to generate a counter-frequency that scrambled two drones mid-dive, sending them spiraling into each other in a silent explosion. A third latched on, drilling toward the hull, but Elias vented cargo gas, harmless scrubbers that froze the drone solid, then shook it off with a barrel roll. Hull integrity at 87%, they hyper-shifted away. Voss's main ship a ghost on the scopes. Adrenaline fading, Elias nursed wounds in the medbay, while Zaro stabilized the systems. "That mad woman's got a hard-on for you," Elias said, applying sealant to a gash. Zaro's eyes dimmed. "My survival draws predators. I burden you." Elias clapped a hand on his feathered shoulder. "Nah, friends haul together. Spill on this echo veil. Sounds like our ticket out." Zaro elaborated. The Echo Veil was a legendary sanctuary nebula, a psychic nexus where the imprints of deceased void flock males lingered, offering cathartic communion to absolve guilt. It pulsed with restorative energies, hidden in the uncharted Zeta Quadrant, but the route skirted volatile regions, pirate nexuses, solar flares, and anomaly rifts. Elias punched in coordinates, turning their evasion into pilgrimage. Voss, enraged by the setback, escalated. She seeded the black nets with fabricated intel, painting Elias as a xeno-trafficker with a bounty tripling his ship's value. En route through the treacherous Beltway cluster, an asteroid maelstrom laced with minefields, pirate interceptors pounced. 3 jagged raiders, engines flaring red, locked on with tractor beams. Battle erupted. The lead pirate fired a salvo of missiles, blooms of fire lighting the void. Elias evaded with a desperate corkscrew, countermeasures blooming like fireworks, but one grazed the aft stabilizers, sending the stellar drift into a spin. "Zaro, the guns!" Elias commanded, wrestling manual control. Zaro interfaced via a jury-rigged port, his resonance syncing with the turrets to unleash pinpoint bursts, vaporizing a missile swarm and crippling a raider's thruster. Elias rammed the second, their hulls grinding in a shower of sparks, while Zaro's sonic pulse shattered the third's canopy, venting its crew to space. Victorious but battered. Shields down, engines sputtering, they limped into a nebular fog for repairs. Voss's influence clear in the pirates' coordinated strike. Deeper conflicts brewed within. Zaro's guilt triggered a crisis during a rift transit. Haunted visions made his pulses erratic, destabilizing the warp field and stranding them in a temporal eddy. Time dilating, stars blurring. Elias talked him down amid the disorientation. "See it. Don't let it see you. Your flock now, me and you." Zaro confessed the storm's intimate horrors, the final cries of his brothermates, his own frozen command. Elias reciprocated, detailing his mate's death, a faulty seal during a storm, his delay in response sealing the fate. Vulnerability forged steel. They emerged stronger, Zaro's feathers regaining luster. Voss struck her boldest near the Veil's approach, in a pulsar storm's electromagnetic fury. The vortex spire decloaked, boarding grapples firing like harpoons. "Yield the male specimen," Voss broadcasted, her tone a venomous symphony. Cyborg boarders, flesh fused with chrome, eyes glowing red, breached the airlock. Elias met them in the corridor, shotgun barking, boom echoing as he shredded one's arm, ducking a vibroblade that carved the bulkhead. Zaro dove into the fray, wings battering a foe while his beak pierced a servo joint. Chaos reigned. Elias grappled a cyborg over a railing, sparks flying. Zaro's resonance wave hurled another into a power conduit, exploding in azure arcs. Voss herself beamed in via hologram, directing "Capture intact." But a lucky shot from Elias fried her projector. The stellar drift shuddered as Voss's ship tugged, but they ignited emergency thrusters, snapping the grapples and diving into the Veil. The Nebula engulfed them, a tempest of sapphire vortices and whispering auroras, its psycho waves assaulting Voss's systems. Her vessel convulsed, AI screaming overload from the flock echoes, visions of unified males condemning exploitation. Voss recoiled, engines reversing in panic. This harmony, its madness. She fled, her obsession cracked, perhaps to brood in isolation. Sanctuary achieved, Zaro ventured coreward in a pod, his lament song invoking the Veil's guardians. Male imprints swirled, regal forms in light embracing him. "Brother, your flight endures. Guilt is but a shadow. Cast it to the winds." Release washed over Zaro, vibrant plumage ablaze. Elias, witnessing via feed, shed his own chains, the trucker's isolation ending. Return was a gentle unwind, nursing the ship at Haven outposts, sharing tales with grateful spacers, quelling a final Voss drone with casual efficiency. In the lanes once more, Elias and Zaro hauled as legends, eternal mates in the stars' quiet vigil.